I never imagined that the life I had built with Kieran Holt could crumble in a single moment, shattering every illusion I had ever held. My name is Arya Lennox, and for 4 years, I had trusted him completely, believing our marriage was the kind of story people envied. Kieran was charming, polite, successful, and everything I had ever wanted in a partner, or so I thought. It all began on a Thursday evening that seemed perfectly ordinary. Kieran returned from work, greeting me with his familiar, warm smile. He kissed my cheek, lightly touched my hand, and told me about a meeting he had attended that day. But there was a subtle tension in his tone, a slight edge in his laughter, and a shadow in his eyes that I couldn't ignore. I tried to dismiss it at first, telling myself that everyone had bad days. But there was a gnawing feeling in the pit of my stomach, something I couldn't name. Later that night, while Kieran took a long shower, curiosity and unease overcame me. I picked up his phone, hesitating for a brief second before unlocking it. I wasn't the type to spy, but the instinct to uncover the truth had become irresistible. Then, I saw it. A notification from a woman named Celine. My heart skipped a beat. I wanted to tell myself it was harmless, maybe a work colleague, but the first message made me freeze in disbelief. I can't stop thinking about last night. I wish you were here. My hands shook as I scrolled through the conversation. Each message cut deeper than the last, late-night texts, flirtatious jokes, secret plans to meet. Kieran had been hiding this from me for months, months in which I had trusted him implicitly. My world, the reality I had believed in, began to collapse. I didn't confront him immediately. I didn't scream or cry. I sat in silence, letting the emotions churn inside me, shock, grief, anger, and a gnawing sense of betrayal. How could the man I loved harbor such a secret? Why had he deceived me so thoroughly? I felt fragile, but beneath that fragility, a fire of determination began to burn. For the next few days, I maintained my composure. I smiled, laughed, and interacted with Kieran as if nothing had happened. He remained oblivious, and I knew I had to plan carefully. This was not a moment for impulsive actions, this was a moment for strategy, for a carefully orchestrated revelation that would leave him utterly stunned. I began observing him closely, noting his routines, his habits, and his secretive moments. Every detail mattered. I asked innocuous questions about his day, watching his reactions intently. He slipped in subtle ways, a nervous glance at his phone, a hesitant pause in conversation, a flicker of unease in his eyes. Each moment confirmed my suspicion and strengthened my resolve. Weeks passed as I meticulously documented every text, every call, and every secret meeting he had with Celine. I knew their rendezvous spots, the times he would be absent, and even small details like the cafe he favored for their clandestine meetings. Every revelation fueled the plan that was slowly forming in my mind. I created a secret record of everything, screenshots, dates, timestamps, even screenshots of deleted messages recovered through backups. Each piece of evidence was a brick in the foundation of the revenge I intended to deliver. I wasn't just hurt, I was calculating, focused, and ready. One night, Kieran received a late message from Celine while I pretended to be asleep. I watched him closely, my heart pounding as his eyes widened, his smile faltered, and his hand instinctively hid the phone. That tiny moment of panic was priceless. It confirmed that he wasn't careful, not careful enough to fool me. I knew that to teach him the lesson he deserved, I needed a plan that was precise, elegant, and utterly inescapable. Revenge was not about chaos, it was about teaching him the full weight of his betrayal in a way he could never forget. I would orchestrate every moment, anticipate every reaction, and ensure that the truth would hit him with the force it deserved. I continued my facade of the loving, unsuspecting wife. I smiled, prepared meals, laughed at his jokes, and acted as if our life was untouched by the storm brewing beneath the surface. Meanwhile, I planted subtle hints in conversation, casual mentions of a friend named Celine, questions about his schedule, small observations that hinted I knew more than I let on. His reactions were involuntary, brief, and telling. Each one fed into the plan. The perfect moment had to be public, undeniable. A private confrontation would never suffice. He needed to feel the humiliation, the panic, the shock of exposure fully, visibly, and without a chance to cover his tracks. Every move he made would be documented. Every slip would be noticed. Weeks of careful preparation passed, and my resolve only grew stronger. Kieran began to sense something, a subtle tension he couldn't explain. He grew cautious, fidgeted with his phone, and avoided certain topics. But he didn't know the extent of my knowledge. I was steps ahead, orchestrating his downfall with meticulous precision. I planned the first stage, a casual dinner, normal on the surface, but the start of a series of carefully calculated events. I would invite Kieran, let him relax into a false sense of security, and begin planting seeds of tension with subtle remarks, questions, and innocent observations. Each word, each glance, each reaction was part of the web I was weaving. During that dinner, I maintained the perfect balance of warmth and subtle insinuation. I asked about his day, about work, about colleagues, but always in ways that hinted I knew more than I should. He laughed nervously, occasionally tensing, trying to cover the unease flickering across his face. After dinner, I excused myself, claiming I needed a moment alone. That was my cue. I had already sent carefully worded, suggestive messages to Celine, hinting at knowledge without full exposure. Her frantic replies confirmed the first cracks in their hidden world, and I smiled to myself. The game had begun, and I was already winning. That night, as we went to bed, Kieran remained completely unaware of the trap I had set. He smiled, kissed my forehead, and whispered, "Good night, my love," believing all was normal. Meanwhile, my mind raced, plotting the next steps with exacting precision. This was only the beginning. I realized then that revenge was not about sudden, chaotic confrontation. It was about patience, precision, and control. I would make Kieran understand the gravity of his deceit, experience the fear, heartbreak, and shock he had caused me, multiplied many times over. Over the next few weeks, I maintained the facade perfectly. I laughed, I joked, I interacted with Kieran as if untouched by betrayal. I dropped subtle hints, light remarks, questions, offhand comments, that caused him brief moments of unease. I monitored his reactions to every message, every call, and every casual mention of Celine. Each slip, no matter how small, confirmed that my plan was working. I even prepared a support system, quietly ensuring that any unexpected variables wouldn't ruin the execution. Every detail mattered: timing, location, audience. By now, Kieran had begun to sense the tension but still didn't know the depth of my knowledge. His arrogance had blinded him. I also chose a public stage for the ultimate reveal. He would not just be confronted privately, he would be exposed fully, visibly, and utterly. Every lie, every secret, every betrayal would be revealed. The humiliation would be complete, and he would have no chance to escape. Kieran had underestimated me. He had assumed I was naive, unsuspecting, and weak. But I was none of those things. I was strong, observant, patient, and cunning. And when the moment arrived, he would learn that the woman he had betrayed, the woman he thought powerless, was, in fact, the one in control all along. The days of careful observation, subtle manipulation, and quiet torment were reaching their climax. I had learned to mask my pain, control my emotions, and appear composed while orchestrating the ultimate revelation. I was ready, and Kieran would soon discover that the woman he deceived was the one who held all the power. This was the beginning of a journey, a calculated plan of exposure, strategy, and revenge. The storm was coming, and Kieran Holt had no idea it was about to consume him completely. The perfect revenge was no longer just a thought, it was imminent, and there would be no escape. The days following my discovery were a careful balance between pretending to be oblivious and quietly gathering every possible piece of evidence. Kieran Holt continued his charade, assuming I was as naive as ever. Every smile, every casual remark he made was like fuel for the fire of revenge I had been nurturing. It was time to act, but not recklessly. The perfect revenge required patience, precision, and above all, control. I decided that my first step would be to subtly manipulate the situations he believed he had mastered. Kieran thought he was clever, but I knew the cracks in his arrogance were already forming. I started by creating minor, seemingly innocent disruptions in his daily routine. I asked about his workday in ways that implied I knew more than I should. "You seem distracted today. Is everything okay with Celine?" I asked casually one afternoon, my voice soft, eyes calm. Kieran froze for a split second, then laughed nervously, trying to brush it off. "You're imagining things, Arya," he said, forcing a smile, though the slight tension in his jaw betrayed him. I let the moment linger, watching him squirm. Small victories mattered. Each slip, no matter how tiny, reinforced my understanding that he wasn't as careful as he believed. I noted everything meticulously: body language, hesitation, the fleeting glance at his phone. Over the next week, I began setting small traps. I sent messages to Celine, pretending they were mistakes, just casual texts leaving breadcrumbs. I observed Kieran's reactions carefully. His subtle panic when he realized I had seen certain messages was satisfying, but I knew better than to act too soon. Timing was everything. I also started to plan more public interactions. I needed a scenario where his duplicity would become undeniable. A dinner party, perhaps, where I could invite close friends and colleagues, people Kieran respected, people who could witness his panic when subtle hints were dropped in conversation. The first public test came sooner than I expected. One evening, I invited him to a casual gathering at a friend's house. I watched as he smiled, tried to engage in conversations effortlessly, but the tension was visible in the way his hands fidgeted and the occasional flicker of unease in his eyes. I casually brought up Celine in conversation, not in a direct accusation, but a subtle reference. "Celine Vaughn, wasn't she in your department last year?" I asked lightly, sipping my wine. Kieran's reaction was instantaneous. He tensed, a momentary slip that was almost imperceptible but enough for me to note. Yes, she was," he stammered, trying to appear casual. The test was successful. He had no idea that I had orchestrated it, and yet his nervousness confirmed the power I now held. Each reaction, each small crack, was a confirmation that my plan was working. As the days passed, I escalated the strategy. I began scheduling coincidental sightings with Celine, making it appear as though I was almost discovering their meetings. Every phone call, every message, every casual mention of a friend led him to believe I was innocently unaware, when in fact, I was meticulously guiding his every reaction. One night, I created the perfect bait. I accidentally left a note on the kitchen counter, an invitation for a late-night coffee that mentioned Celine's name. Kieran noticed immediately, and his reaction was priceless. The panic, the quick glance toward his phone, the subtle swallow of guilt, it all reinforced that I had complete control. The moment where subtlety would transform into undeniable evidence. I arranged a gathering at our home, inviting a few close friends and colleagues. It was casual on the surface, but every detail was carefully planned. I had subtle hints ready to drop in conversations, small reminders that Celine existed, and moments designed to make Kieran's facade crumble in front of others. During the gathering, I maintained my usual charm, laughing and interacting effortlessly. I mentioned Celine casually, observing Kieran's every reaction. He shifted uncomfortably, attempted to hide his phone, and even stumbled in conversation. Each moment was a piece of the perfect exposure I had meticulously planned. I let the tension build slowly. I didn't rush, I didn't accuse openly, but every subtle word, every glance, every piece of evidence I allowed to surface was calculated. Kieran's panic was growing, and his attempts to maintain composure only made his fear more visible. By the end of the evening, the groundwork was laid. My plan had progressed flawlessly. I had manipulated situations, tested his reactions, and subtly exposed cracks in his carefully constructed web of lies. Kieran Holt, the man who believed himself untouchable, was beginning to realize that the woman he had underestimated, the woman he thought naive and unaware, was orchestrating every move, controlling every outcome. At home that night, I confronted him, not with shouting or tears, but with calm precision. "Kieran, I know everything," I said softly, placing my hand over his. His face went pale, and for the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. "I've seen your messages, your meetings, everything. And it ends tonight." He stammered, attempting excuses, explanations, lies. But I was unmoved. I had prepared for this moment. Every response, every reaction, was expected. I let him fumble, seeing firsthand the consequences of his choices. It had been weeks since Arya had set her plan into motion. Every carefully plotted step had led to this moment, the culmination of patience, precision, and a determination fueled by betrayal. She sat in her apartment, the soft hum of the city outside blending with the ticking of the clock, feeling the familiar mix of anticipation and adrenaline. Kieran Holt, the man she had once loved with every fiber of her being, was oblivious to the storm that had been brewing quietly behind his back. Arya's mind replayed the moment she had discovered the text messages, the shock, the disbelief, and then the burning resolve. It was not enough to confront Kieran, to simply show him that she knew. No, this had to be perfect. His betrayal, his lies, and his disregard for her trust would be met with a consequence he could never forget. Celine Vaughn had been instrumental in helping Arya execute her plan. Celine, with her unmatched social skills and network of contacts, had been the perfect accomplice. Arya knew that revenge was not just about exposure, it was about dismantling the very sense of security Kieran had built around himself, piece by piece, in a way that left no room for denial or deflection. The first step had been subtle. Arya had ensured that Kieran was unaware she had accessed the evidence. She had recorded conversations, saved screenshots, and even traced Celine's involvement in the early stages of his indiscretions. Every detail mattered, every small action had been meticulously noted. Now, she prepared for the second act. It would occur at the gala, an event Kieran had boasted about for weeks. The room would be filled with their colleagues, friends, and the influential people he thought admired him. Arya had secured an invitation under the guise of a charity representative, her presence undetectable as anything unusual. She wore a dress that was understated yet commanding, ensuring eyes would be drawn to her without suspicion. As she arrived, Kieran was already mingling, laughing, unaware of the meticulous web tightening around him. Arya observed from a distance, noting the casual confidence in his gestures, the ease with which he navigated conversations. It made her resolve even stronger. Celine joined her discreetly, a silent nod passing between them. They had coordinated every detail, the timing, the placement, the digital evidence. The plan was simple in concept but powerful in execution. Arya would confront Kieran, not privately, but in front of the crowd, using irrefutable evidence that would leave him humiliated beyond repair. Minutes turned into an eternity as Arya waited for the perfect moment. She engaged with other guests, her calm demeanor belying the storm inside. Kieran approached a group near the bar, his laughter echoing, and Arya felt a flicker of anger she had almost suppressed. This man had taken so much for granted, her trust, her love, and her respect, and now he would see the consequence of underestimating her intelligence and composure. Finally, the moment arrived. Kieran excused himself from the group to take a call, stepping slightly away from the main room. Arya moved with precise timing, Celine following to discreetly handle the technical aspects of their plan. A small device in Celine's hand would project Kieran's incriminating messages onto a screen in the main hall, ensuring everyone present would witness the truth. Arya confronted Kieran as planned. "Kieran," she said, her voice steady, controlled. He turned, surprised, and a flicker of unease crossed his face. "We need to talk." He smiled, a mask of charm and oblivion. "Arya. I didn't expect to see you here. Everything okay?" Arya held his gaze. "Perfectly. In fact, this is the perfect time to clear the air." She gestured subtly, and Celine activated the device. The screen illuminated with Kieran's messages, text after text revealing the betrayal he had tried to hide. The crowd gasped, their attention instantly captured by the unfolding drama. Kieran's eyes widened as he realized what was happening. "Arya, this isn't," he stammered, but the words fell flat in the charged atmosphere. Every lie, every deceitful action was laid bare for all to see. The whispers of the crowd grew louder, a chorus of disbelief and shock. Arya stepped closer, her voice calm yet commanding. "You see, Kieran, trust is not given lightly. Love is not a game. And betrayal, well, betrayal comes with consequences." The humiliation was complete. Kieran tried to explain, to justify, to beg, but no one listened. The evidence was undeniable, and the truth had shattered the carefully constructed image he had presented to the world. Arya watched as the man she had once loved was reduced to a figure of regret and embarrassment. Her plan had worked perfectly, not out of cruelty, but out of justice and the need for closure. She had taken back her power, her dignity, and her peace of mind. As the crowd dispersed, leaving Kieran to face the aftermath alone, Arya felt a sense of calm wash over her. This chapter was over. She had been patient, strategic, and precise. Her revenge had been executed flawlessly, and now she could move forward without the weight of his betrayal pressing on her. Celine approached, a proud smile on her face. "You did it, Arya. Every step was perfect." Arya nodded, a mixture of relief and satisfaction in her eyes. "It wasn't just about revenge," she said softly. "It was about reclaiming what he tried to take from me, my respect, my voice, my control over my life." As they left the venue, the night air felt different, lighter. Arya knew the path ahead would be filled with new beginnings, and she was ready to embrace them fully. Kieran's deception was a memory, a lesson, and a catalyst for her own growth. She had survived, she had fought, and she had emerged stronger than ever. In the end, Arya understood that the most powerful revenge was not anger or vindictiveness, it was taking control, standing tall, and refusing to let betrayal define her. The story of Kieran Holt's downfall would linger, whispered among those who had witnessed it, a testament to the consequences of underestimating a woman's resolve. Arya Lennox walked away, head held high, heart unburdened, and ready to embrace the life she had always deserved. The storm had passed, and in its wake, she had discovered her true strength.